Now, Trade Minister Ekospi Gabra, since he assumed office a year ago, has been preaching the Made in Ghana message, that is, we should patronize Made in Ghana goods. Now, this time around, the minister is saying that government is introducing some policies to sanction businesses that do not patronize Made in Ghana goods. And the minister is saying that if these businesses go ahead to use goods that can be made here locally and go for the imported ones, they will be sanctioned. He spoke earlier with my colleague Etonam Say. Take a listen.
I don't think there's a big challenge for producers to produce. Obviously, there are many products that Ghanaians are not producing at all, and for which we are importing almost all of it. Sugar, for example, as simple as that, is one such product, and that's why we're trying to create new sugar industries in Ghana, beginning with the Commander Sugar Factory and hopefully going on to some other sugar factories in the eastern, upper, and the northern and other regions. But in terms of manufacturing, I think for those products that are made in Ghana, such as the one here, Gihok Distilleries, we are only asking that the Ghanaian consumer takes a decision to prefer consuming locally made products wherever possible than foreign products. We are also asking the intermediaries such as hotels, restaurants, and even state institutions which sometimes host various events. You go to a state banquet hall and it's either a state institution or a banker's event or a marketing event or a sports event, and those who organize these events don't consciously think of buying Ghanaian products for those events. They may consider buying the usual foreign products for such events, and so it requires a conscientization continually of our consumers and of our population and of the intermediaries. There are certain hotels apparently in Ghana which consciously refuse to host to stock Ghanaian distilled products, and apparently there are some retail outlets also that apparently are doing the same, and so we are going to be on the lookout and the warpath for such institutions, and if they don't respond positively to a presidential directive, then there will be legislation that will compel them to do this.
How about products or things that we grow here ourselves, like rice? How are we making sure that we're able to produce to meet local demand? And also we have issues with standardization. It appears that some of them are supposed to be voluntarily. What are you doing about that?
You can't force people to eat locally made rice, unfortunately. However, as you're saying, we can produce more rice. We can make sure it is milled to high standards of quality. The price should be adequate or reasonable, and it should be available in as many outlets as possible. Currently, we just don't produce enough rice to meet all of Ghana's needs, and that's why we must allow some imports to come in. But we are pushing the production of rice as best as we can. Remember that most of this is in the Ministry of Agriculture, so I don't want to really speak on behalf of a colleague who would have more information than I do. We get into rice production at the milling stage. Once you are converting the rice through a factory process, through a milling process, the Ministry of Industry comes in. But the growing of raw agriculture, raw fruits and vegetables, and anything that is raw is really a Ministry of Agriculture responsibility. But we work closely together to try and ensure that the raw materials can be produced for the factories also to work. It's a mixture of things. In many cases, Ghanaians, in a free society, Ghanaians are free to eat what they want to eat. But we are saying that if Ghanaians want their sisters and their cousins and brothers and uncles who may be unemployed to get jobs, then all of us must consciously patronize those products that are made here to ensure that our own relatives get jobs. But we cannot be complaining on one hand about unemployment and creating an association of unemployed graduates. Then at the same time, when I go to a nightclub or a bar or a party to drink, my first choice is a foreign drink. Then I'm killing my own economy in the process.
So the issue of standardization.
No, standardization, the Ghana Standards Authority is doing a great job. Most companies, before you can produce any product and sell on the Ghanaian market, must go for Ghana Standards Authority logo and embossment. Some may not be doing that, and I think the GSA has the responsibility periodically to go around the marketplaces and other stores and see products that are on the shelves which may not have the mark of the Food and Drugs Board or the Ghana Standards Authority, depending on which product.
Now, finally, the issue has been packaging. I mean, since you are with the Trade Ministry, issue of packaging should be, or perhaps should be, an issue of concern to you. Do you think that the Ghana-made products are packaged well enough to appeal to whoever wants to buy?
Most of them are very well packaged. We've been to a number of factories recently. One of them was Tobinco. A number of pharmaceutical companies are packaging products to international standards. Here, there's a bottling plant, and the package is mostly the bottle. Maybe sometimes some of the bottles also go in cartons or in boxes per bottle. And you find that the branding is quite impressive. The cartons are quite nice. But what I've suggested here is that the companies that consume bottles in this country, which are mostly the beverage industry, Accra Brewery, Kumasi Brewery, Guinness, Ghana Limited, and Georg Distilleries, and even Casapreco and others, may wish to get together collectively to work with us to invest in the glass manufacturing factory in Abosu, which has collapsed over many years and which is currently on the divestiture list, because they are consumers of bottles, and there's no point in importing bottles when we can manufacture the bottles here. But those who use the bottles could be the first group to consider working with us to look for investors, and they can also invest alongside those investors to bring these factories up so they can then get all the bottles they want.
So the message is quite clear: patronize made in Ghana goods. But are local businesses really ready for this? Well, it appears that they are struggling with the capital they need in order to produce enough to meet local demand. Board Chairman of Georg Distilleries, Adekoka, explains it better.
It's a capital, especially this is also a state-owned company, right? So we don't have the largesse or we don't have the luxury of putting more capital in. If with a private company, they are able to go and raise funds regardless of where the consequence. But we have to depend on government institutions like EDIF to give us the relevant funds to do our. So it's a challenge for us. Hopefully, we are trying to see whether we can divest the company and get some other companies outside this country or local to join us. But that is in the long term. But the important thing is that you need capital to do this kind of, and government alone cannot solvent you all the time.
So what do we do if I am a local company, I'm struggling to grow, I want to also add to us being able to manufacture something? What would be your advice to organizations or companies like that, small business startups?
Government, of course, must, or not government, the banks must be able to give us enough capital at competitive rates. But if they are giving you rates at 35%, it's difficult for you. So they should have a structure that with companies like this, you lend at maybe 12%, 12.5%, like EDIF is doing, to enable them to expand. But if you're asking for 35% interest rate, naturally, for small-scale companies, it's difficult. You have to make sure that then you sell at 70%, which means prices have to go up, and you don't become competitive. So it's the banks also who have to nurture our local industries. But most of our banks believe in trading, buying and selling, so they don't venture into this area, but they need to venture into these areas to help the local companies.
Now, how good is the environment for these businesses? Well, Quality Assurance Manager of Georg Distilleries, again, Abraham Nikwe, however, laments the main challenge to their operations is the state of the roads around the North Industrial Area.
Yeah, here currently the main challenge is the road. Yeah, the road network. As you can see, there is construction work going on. It is not the best though, but we are managing the situation. Yeah, and it has left the whole place very dusty. Yes. Apart from that, the position as it is closer to the circle construction going on, we have flood situations anytime it rains here. The road itself, because if you look at a portion of the road has been tarred, which when you are coming it looks quite okay, but up front it is very bad. Then the road construction itself has also led to some flooding around this area. As we talk now, our main drain joins the Odo River, which due to the construction, some diversions have been made and it is not able to flow very well. I'll say when it is raining, transportation becomes very difficult, but after the rains, within a matter of 30 minutes, everything is okay. They are able to access the facility. People are able to come in to do business here. My appeal to government is they should speed up the road construction process so that at least this intermittent flooding thing which we sometimes record will be a thing of the past. I know once the road is constructed and the drain is done, this will be a thing of the past.
Okay, now, so let's come down to us, the patrons. Will you buy a made in Ghana product just because you want to be patriotic? Well, let's listen to some of your views.
Made in Ghana product? Of course, it's good to patronize a made in Ghana product, but it should also be consistent, that the Ghanaian product should be consistent with quality, okay? Many people will shy away from their product because of the quality item, but if it is quality focused and quality oriented, why not? Just go for it. But personally, I would go for Ghana, made in Ghana goods, because you want to be patriotic, number one. You also want to be an advocate to increase the awareness, because if I were, as a pastor, if I wear a shirt that is inscribed made in Ghana, it will give a good signal out there for people to also patronize. But that notwithstanding, we should also be more particular with the quality. Yeah.
It's all about the quality. Well, let's see how this particular policy goes. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll be talking stock and commodity markets. Don't go away. You're still watching Business Live right here on Multi TV Joy News, and Betha Tibiga is here with me to talk about the stock market. How are you doing, Betha?
By God's grace, I'm doing very well. How are you doing too?
I'm good as well, by God's grace. Okay, so what's been happening over the past week? Any good news from the stock market?
Let me say the volumes of shares traded on the market last week actually went up as compared to what we saw in the previous week. So we saw over 2 million shares trading as compared to the past week where we saw about 21 million shares trading. Now that was because we had a bulk trade with Soji that's Societe Generale. It traded on the negotiated market, so we saw the volumes of shares actually increasing at the end of the week. In terms of the major indices on the market, we didn't see any positive sign on that trend. Then put it that way, we saw the major indices, that the composite index and the financial stock index dipping further into the negative zone. So the CI, which measures the average performance of the entire Ghana Stock Exchange, closed at negative 12.25% as compared to the prior week where it was around 11.54%. Now the financial stock index, well, I'm not surprised because most of the financial equities are currently recording year-to-date negatives, like they've lost so much on their year open values or prices on the market. So we saw the financial stock index actually recording a year-to-date depreciation or decline of 14.19% as compared to the past week where it closed at 13.77%. So you could say that these major indices actually dipped further into the negative zones. It's not something that we're going to see like a miraculous change on the market. It's going to continue for a while until certain indicators are corrected. We have most of the companies getting back on board when our energy crisis is totally over. When our cedi is stable, we'll see more positive feeds on the market as well.
So we're going to have these negatives, you know, over and over again. If the indicators
probably
don't change,
I don't see us moving out.
This has become a trend. For the past month, we've been experiencing.
Yeah, we've been seeing the major indices dip into negative zones because most of the financial equities, the big giants on the market, are actually losing or have lost on their year open value. So we shouldn't be surprised that this is happening, and it's going to continue for a while. Not for a long time, but from now till probably the end of the year, we'll still be in the negative regions. We are not going to move out of it immediately. And then one other thing that we should also look out is our cedi is stable, but it is not that stable. We are not actually seeing the effect
reflecting on the market.
On the market. So we're not going to see that sharp turn on the market as well. For instance, equity like BOPP, which trades in foreign currencies, when the cedi is not doing well, it's to their advantage because they make huge profits out of that.
Right.
But when the cedi is actually stable or is doing so well, then it goes to their disadvantage. So it will actually affect their bottom lines, and that will affect the price of the equity on the market because investors look out for the fundamentals and then other stuff before they invest in these equities and other information, like say sensitive information when it comes to top management. But in Ghana, we wouldn't say these kind of information talking about changing directors and all that actually have that significant impact that would have seen
does not really respond to such
that,
information.
yes, as compared to developed markets. Okay, for instance, the New York market talk about an emerging market like South Africa, where certain key information about some of the listed equities, probably for instance the mining companies listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, when staffs or workers are actually embarking on strikes or are laid off, you see it affecting the price of the equity on the markets. We saw that recently with some equities on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. So these are some of the things that actually affect the prices of these equities on the market.
We see the indicators reflecting on the market, and like you said, it's going to happen for a while. I mean, that should have some implications for our economy, because the stock market, of course, is
yes, you know, I keep saying that it's a cycle, and it is the right. It doesn't mean that the markets will never pick up. No, there are times where someone gets down.
Even till the end of the year.
Yes, there are times that you get down, and there are times that you pick up. We have equities that were doing so well. I'll still mention BOPP. It did very well in the early parts of this year, returned more than 20%.
What was happening was in their favor.
You understand? And all of a sudden, it's going down. And today, it's lost 5 pesos on its previous price. Yes, and that is what's actually happening.
Right.
So the market is such that when the prices of these equities and the entire market, there are times where the prices begin to pick up. There are times that the prices fall. But the best thing for you, an investor, is to get into the market when the market is not doing well.
Okay,
when
so
prices
this is the
are
best time.
Yes, when prices are low, that is the time investors need to get in. You don't buy equities or you don't buy shares when the prices are at its peak or are very high. You buy when the prices are low. You buy when the prices are very, very low. And that is when you can actually say you are making returns or you're making profits on your investment, because you would have bought it at a lower price, and then you sell it at a higher price, or even get dividends at the end of every financial year. That is possible. So this is the right time. It will be corrected within a period of time. It will take a period of time for it to stay. Then after a while, we'll see the markets finally picking up.
I see. Let's talk about the top 3 gainers and losers quickly.
Well, last week we saw some equities. Aluworks actually is returning 250% to investors, and it's trading at 7%. It closed as the highest top gainer on the market. It added 16.67% to its previous quote, or let's say its week open quote. So it's actually a good stock, and then a bulk trade was done some time back, and since then the equity has been very liquid. And from the details I had on the market today and last week, it is difficult for you to get Aluworks now on the market because it's a hot cake. If you have made 250%, will you be selling it when the equity has good potentials? Well, their financials are not that impressive, but managers are putting in strategic measures to actually correct that, and probably by the end of this year they'll be able to pay off their debts, and then we'll see them recording some profits again. And if that happens, probably they could declare some dividends, because the equity is actually being well now on the market, returning 250%, the highest on the Ghana Stock Exchange as I speak to you now. And when you look at its total issued shares on the market, we had about 236.34 million shares on the market. That also makes it a very liquid stock. And when you look at its market cap, not that significant. That is why we see it recording a year-to-date so high, but we are not seeing that effect or that impact on the major indices on the market, because when you look at its market capitalization, that's the work that it constitutes on the entire market, is 16.57 million Ghana cedis, as compared to others that are so huge, like Anglo Gold and the Tullow Oil and all that. So we don't see that significant shift in the major indices on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And the second top trader we had on the market was Soji GH. Actually, with the bulk trade, we saw a price movement on the market. It closed at 87 pesos per share, from its previous quote where it was at 80 pesos. So it's added 7 pesos, that is 8.75%. And the top third was SIC. SIC has lost 64.86% of its value since year open, but at the close of the week, it managed to add a peso, and that was 8.33%. Yes, it managed to add a peso. And you know, when prices are very low, that is the best time for you to buy. And then looking at SIC and its future prospects, it's also a good equity that investors can actually look out for. And talking about the top 3 losers on the market, we have HFC losing the highest, that's 14%. We have GGBL being the second, losing 12.50%, and we have UT Bank losing 10%.
That's
actually,
quite
today,
interesting.
Yeah, today UT Bank gained. It lost the peso last week. And then today it managed to gain the peso back. So
what happened to
from
HFC?
10 pesos, from 10 pesos is now trading, and 9 pesos is trading at 10 pesos today. Now HFC, after the Republic Bank takeover, we saw the price shooting so high. It even went above the tender offer price that was given by the takeover bank, that's the Republic Bank. But after some time, when you look at their financials, it's not that impressive, and that's one thing that investors actually look out for. Though it's it's liquid on the market in terms of buying and selling, it's liquid, but when you look at the financials, it's not that impressive. So it could be a factor that is actually holding back the equity. And then GGBL, I am not surprised, and it's one equity that probably wouldn't see much appreciations in it within the short term. When you look at the financials of GGBL, right from when you compare this year first quarter financials to last year first half financials to last year first half financials, realize that the total equity actually reduced. And you know, for companies, it's either you finance, you have to blend the two, debts and equities. Their total equity actually reduced, but when you look at their debts, the liability, it increased as compared to what we had last year. To get the figures right, total equity reduced to it reduced to 95,182,000 as compared to last year, where the equity valued at 140,916,000. And when you look at their liability, which last year was around 102 million, we saw it this year at 175 million. So the debt has gone up, and then the equity has actually gone down. When you look at their total income for the year, their total comprehensive income for 2014 half year and then 2015 half year, you realize that they made losses for each of the years. 2012 they recorded a loss of 8 million, and then 2015, I know you're going to be surprised, but they recorded a loss of 45 million Ghana cedis, and that is very huge. It has actually affected them so much. And when you go into details, you realize that they did some borrowings from their sister companies and all that, and it's having a big toll on them.
Not too good. Let's quickly talk about the commodity market before I let you go.
Well, the commodities market, let me say a quick one. Crude oil prices today, I personally looked at the prices of diesel and petrol at one of this, is it gold? Yeah, it was around 2.7 and 2.8 Ghana cedis. And then when I went to the crude oil market, I realized that the prices of oil has actually gone up by about 11% on a weekly basis. Last week it was around 47 US dollars per barrel, and then last 2 weeks, and last week it closed at 53.51 US dollars per barrel. We saw gold and cocoa. Gold went up by 4.31%, and then we saw cocoa dropping by 1.13%, despite the fact that cocoa prices have been increased by 21%. So that is on the commodity side.
Great. Thank you very much, Bertha, with
You're
that
welcome.
in-depth analysis. Thank you so much. And that was Bertha Tubiga with the Gold Coast Fund Management, doing some analysis with us on the stock market and commodity markets. And that will be all for Business Live. My name is Abigail Adomakwenchi. Do catch a repeat of this show at 11:30 p.m. tonight. Up next is Focus on Africa. To stay on.